Welcome to the Modern Homes Podcast with Rob Clemens and
Frank Dominic.
All right, well, good to see everybody on the show. We have a great show today, as always. Never a crappy show on the Modern Homes Podcast. No. But I have some topics. We're going to just deep dive right in. 30 minutes of quality production today. You know, no going over for us this time, Frank. Anyway, so I was looking around a little bit, as I tend to do, and I found the fastest growing cities in Myrtle Beach. And I want to kind of see if you can guess some of these.
Fastest growing in Myrtle Beach, you said.
Oh, well, a little Freudian slip there, as they say. No, the fastest growing in the United States, hint, hint, number 2 on the list is Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And I kind of expected that we would be in that 1 or 2 slot. That's been happening for years. But I also wanted to play a little quiz show with you and see if you could guess. Can you guess 3 other fastest growing cities in the United States? There's one in front of us.
And one time, Charlotte was on the list.
Well, okay, so they're number 3, and they're still on there.
At one time, recently, I believe Denver was on the list.
Oh, he's got a little Denver on the list. Okay, Denver is
list?
number 10. They are number 10.
The last one I was thinking was Atlanta.
Atlanta. See, so Atlanta's not on this list. Not on the modern list. So here's the top 10 fastest growing cities in the United States. San Francisco's at 1.
Still.
At number 1. Number 2, Myrtle Beach. The fastest growing cities in Myrtle Beach.
Frank Dominic Realtor. Call me.
There you go. Yeah, get on down while you can. Charlotte, North Carolina, number 3. Austin, Texas, number 4.
Yes.
Georgetown City, Texas. Never heard of Georgetown City.
Where
is that at? Not to be confused with Georgetown, South Carolina, which is also a good opportunity to talk to Realtor Frank Dominic. Seattle, Washington at number 6. I've heard good things about Seattle. You ever been out that way?
No. I've only been to mid-level California. Not even up to like Marion County yet.
Man, I used to be such a Ken Griffey Jr. fan too. I always thought I want to go to Seattle and check out Ken Griffey Jr. Anyway, all right, number 7 is going to surprise you. Huntsville, Alabama. Huntsville, Alabama. Who is, if you're from Huntsville, call up the show. Tell us what's going on down there. I need to hear about it.
I knew the Gulf Shores was nice, but Huntsville?
Man, Huntsville, Alabama, dude. We got to get down. You know what we should do? We should take this on the road at some point and get out to all the hottest
top
cities.
10.
Yeah, we'll start off in Myrtle Beach. We got that one checked off. Then next up, Santa Cruz, California. That's believable. That's pretty believable.
Good climate.
Good climate. I want to talk about good climates. Phoenix, Arizona, coming in at number 9. And I got to tell you, I always hear good
Two
things.
good friends of mine they got back Tuesday. They went Tuesday to Tuesday. They're looking at where their next city to live is.
Okay.
That's one on their list.
Phoenix. You know, I'd like to get out to Phoenix because I hear the humidity's very low. And for us sweaters in the crowd, and I don't
allergies too?
And allergies.
Gone.
Man, I visited San Diego, California.
You told me that one time.
And I'm going to tell you, man, my allergies were gone for the 3 days I was there. And I came back and it was like,
boom.
Oh, man, it was right back. And,
allergies.
Yeah, here they are, right? I'm allergic to this area, apparently. And then last is, as you said, Denver, Colorado.
I knew about that one.
It's another place I hear great things about, man. Anyway, well, cool stuff. But part of the point is why are these places gravitational? And we can speak on Myrtle Beach at least. Myrtle Beach is a little different than some of these on this list. We don't have a huge metropolitan area, but we have a place that I think young people want to still get to. Retirees are coming here in droves.
Great climate.
Great climate.
Great price point for homes. Great price point for homes, considering by square foot and features.
Yeah,
great,
for sure.
Great.
Well, and I think that one thing I find with Myrtle Beach is it's kind of like when you visit any other city. You come down here and you're like, I just want to go back there. You kind of think about it all year long, and when you live here, you get to just enjoy it all around. Best things to do in Myrtle Beach, we got barefoot. You much of a barefoot fan? Here, Barefoot Landing, you got the Alabama
when you first get here, you are, I think, and
Yeah.
also when you have company, because there is a lot to do there.
It's almost like a show in itself, like things that you can do as a tourist that when you live somewhere you don't do as much of. But look, living here, I can say there's nothing like going to the beach on the weekend.
Got the House of Blues there too, because I'm a music
House
guy.
of Blues,
They're going to get mid-level to national acts.
Man, House of Blues in Myrtle Beach. Look, I mean, high level. Years ago, I saw Johnny Lang play at House of Blues.
Great guitar.
Snoop Dogg came to the House of Blues. I saw him in person. Absolutely.
At the House of Blues up there?
At the House of Blues. And I'm going to tell you, this was one, and I hate to be so, cliche about it. I was kind of fearing for my life a little bit. Because there was an unruly crowd there, man. And then there's me with I had my sweater tied around my waist and, hello.
Can I have a spot of cheese?
And some biscuits, Snoop.
I'm white.
But the greatest thing is, like, Snoop did in his concert exactly what you would expect him to do in his concert. Good. He is he's an entertainer for sure.
Talented, very talented.
Talented guy. But that's a great thing about the House of Blues. No matter who you're watching, you're within 200 feet of the stage at all times.
At all times.
So super
at
cool.
all times.
All right, well, cool, man. Well, that was a little fun. Another thing, I thought we'd go into this. So I'm looking on Zillow today, and I thought a topic that we haven't talked about enough is first-time home buyers. We're talking a lot about things you need to look out for, but Zillow put out a list, and it was top mistakes that first-time home builders make, home buyers make. So I want to go through this list with you. We don't have to hit every one of them because they had a lot of great ones, but I'd love to get your take on it, and I have my take as always. So one of the things they said is, top mistakes that first-time homebuyers make: hesitating to ask for information or clarity. I thought that was really interesting. So,
I agree. I've seen it.
Do you agree? All right, because if you bought 1, 2, 3 homes and you're going into a negotiation, you kind of know, like, no, I need to see the inspection report. I need to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I had people recently that bought a new construction home, and literally when they decided. We had a conversation. They were, on the fence about a realtor or myself, and I asked them 2 quick questions. I said, "What incentives are they offering, and are they giving you any assistance with financing? And it's closing or financing." And as soon as I said that, they're like, "You're my guy." And we went there, and I got them both.
You know what's interesting about what you just said? You actually hit a couple other things on this list. And I think that part of the point of this list, Frank, honestly, at the end of the day, is find yourself a good realtor and you don't have to worry about all these problems. But they are things to look at. Now, I'm skipping down through some of my highlights because we only have a little bit of time here. But failing to build and protect your credit score. Huge, man. Huge. These people go in and you're looking at, maybe you got some cash in the bank. Years ago, I met a guy who had a bankruptcy. And this is to the T, not an exaggeration at all. He decided to build a home with our company. And this guy was paying in cash, Frank. We do draws. And when you're doing a custom home, you do draws. So hey, we finished your foundation. We're ready for $25,000. This guy's bringing stacks of hundreds to pay because he had all the money in the world. He couldn't scratch together a credit score to save his life. Wow. Yeah. So and it was because he had some bad mistakes.
That in a way works if you can meet face to face with someone. But if you're doing this remotely from somewhere else, how are you going to get that stacks? Wire it down?
Oh, yeah, wire it down. Send the Pony Express to us. I mean, look, at the end of the
sack
day,
of cash.
Right. Well, so these sack with a dollar bill sign on it.
Oh, please, of course.
But no, like when you look at it, sometimes young people say, "I'm interested in buying a home one day. What would you suggest?" Well, start with your credit score. Don't build up a bunch of credit card debt you can't afford. Build your credit score up because it's going to help you to get some better financing in the future.
Credit's important. Also, having a significant down payment is important. That's going to go a long way.
Start storing.
If you have a down payment, if you get in a bidding situation, you have a larger down payment and a cleaner barrier to entry in, you're going to be the choice. I mean, I've seen deals where it's somebody is won out a lower price, but they have a less contingency, so to speak.
Oh yeah, I got you.
It's an easier for sure deal.
Well, and you're like actually a few steps ahead, but you're hitting on all cylinders. These are things that you need to look at. You think you're going to walk in and just start negotiating a better price, or maybe not even doing that. These are things to look at. One, I thought this was pretty good. It said, not investigating down payment assistance programs when seeking financing. So there are programs out there for first-time home buyers you should be looking at. So again, I'm going to kind of...
One that locally here qualifies, a lot of the Conway area qualifies for USDA loans.
Oh, yeah.
Agricultural, you don't
Absolutely.
need... And these, you'll get into a development, the one that I was aware of, first one I heard of when I became a realtor here was in a new development in Conway. And the whole place is developed, but prior to that, it was a farm.
Yeah, for sure.
As far as the eye could see. And now it looks like neighborhoods, but it's still USDA.
You want to know an interesting thing about this area? The whole area of Myrtle Beach, which nobody would really say it's rural at this point, but it qualifies as rural for certain kinds of benefits. So check out your certain things that can be financial benefits of payment assistant programs. Now, here's one I liked, and I'm skipping down the list a little bit. It said not being aware that you have other closing costs when the sale happens. This is a biggie, Frank.
Huge.
Now, and we almost laugh at it because we've been in the business so long, but if you're a first-time home buyer and you go out and you see that home that's $200,000, and you go, oh, good, I qualify for $200,000, and then you find out, oh, I've got some other costs coming in, attorney fees and things like title searches.
Title search, all that stuff. And you need those things.
You need those things.
Extremely important.
You can't do it without them. So anyway, so always save. In fact, this one had the tip of save 2 to 5% of your budget for those. So let's say you have a budget of $200,000. Don't be looking for $200,000 homes. Look for something that's maybe, dial it back 5%. I always recommend that anyway. And now you're looking for homes that might be, in that, maybe in that 190 range.
I always ask for a range. Where do you want to start and where do you want to top out?
Right.
And occasionally, depending on if it's a seasoned buyer or somebody who's downsizing from up north, I'll maybe push that maybe 50 grand above it. Say they top out at 5, I'll go 550.
Yeah.
Because you never know. There may be that home that's at 522 and they want to go to 520, and it's a perfect house for them.
Well, interesting that you say that, and this is kind of often a different school of thought, but it goes back to that old listing thing. Somebody says, I want to list my house for $510, and you're going, could you do it for $499? We're always trying to get them under these certain targets, because the way we do when we're doing searches for real estate for people is somebody says my budget's 500,000, Frank. Well, a lot of realtors will just put in 500,000. Well, if yours is listed for 501, you don't pop up on that list. Ever. So you got to kind of be careful with that. I thought there were some interesting ones on here. They had some stuff like taking rejection personally. I thought that was kind of interesting, but not really the best. Buying more home than you can comfortably afford. Now, I thought that was a good one. So you go get pre-approved, which is also on this list. Make sure you get pre-approved. Don't go looking at homes all day and then find out you can't qualify for them. But the opposite problem is you go out, you find out you qualify for $350, and then, maybe you can get a $350 loan, but you got to crack that nut every month. You got to make that payment every month. So they say talk to your realtor about understanding what that actual dollar amount is. And sometimes it's better off to stay a little lower. Go conservative.
I go conservative, and also I like to partner with a good institution on the mortgage side because they will guide that person from a legitimate, here's your cost. They give you breakdowns, they show you, they target things.
Yeah.
Mortgage, your interest rate's not the only thing that's going to affect.
Yeah, for sure. Good stuff, Frank. A couple last ones. I'm going to hit some high points here. Failing to negotiate concessions from sellers.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Man, if your realtor's not doing that for you,
if your realtor hasn't done that, call me.
Yeah, I mean, really, when you're a first-time home buyer, you got to think about this. You're taking everything as gospel, and the listing agent is trying to get as much as they can for that property.
Sure, that's
your
their job.
Buyer's agent will hopefully be the one to say, well, hey, could they throw in some of those closing costs and things like that? So good thing to consider there. I know you'll love this one, not researching agents. And by the way, that's a whole show. That's the whole show, not researching agents. Now, we talk about how do people find the agent they're going to work with. Oh, well, my sister's an agent. My best friend's an agent. I'm giving them the business. Well, it's like, yeah. So if I could ask you that question, okay, you're going to use this agent and it's going to cost you an extra $20,000. You're going to save $20,000 if you didn't use your sister and use this other agent. Would you do it?
Save $20,000? Absolutely. I would use that person based on experience, reputation, referrals, and also rapport right off the bat. If they understand what I'm looking for.
So 100%. And look, here's my tip to first-time buyers. You don't just go out and find an agent because you're familiar with them. That may be okay, but you need to really interview your agent. You need to understand why they think they're the best agent for you, what they can do for you. And to me, it could be the difference of $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, depending on the price of the home you're going for.
Absolutely.
And I just think that doesn't happen enough. We've got somewhere around 5,000 agents in Myrtle Beach, and I'm constantly perplexed.
It's an accurate number.
And I'm perplexed by how people pick their agent, and you hear bad answers. That's kind of the point.
I hear found them. I've heard they were the guy that I got from Zillow. And I mean somebody that's paying a large amount of advertising to be listed on there. Not saying they're bad, but it's not a personal relationship.
Yeah, exactly. And this is somebody you didn't have a relationship with. Use a good word for that.
On the largest purchase of your life.
On the biggest purchase of your life, you may be working with them for 3 to 6 months, maybe a year in some cases. So make sure you like who you're getting with. Here's one that spoke to me for sure. It said, considering only turnkey homes. And let me explain. hey, I love this home. I'm going to buy this one. Well, it's like, why not the home that maybe it doesn't have quite the room you need, but you could do the addition off of the back? We've talked about a number of times at Carolina Bays. One of the advantages is we could help you find that home and help you acquire a financing that would include that home improvement within the loan. So why not do that? A lot of times people are bypassing that particular home that with a little bit of fix up could be the perfect home for you. So that was a good tip.
Well, something on that too is look beyond an MLS listing too. Go see the home.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I agree with that completely.
It could either look way better or not as good. And I've had both instances, and we've seen it.
A good agent makes
you
a
walk
bad
into a
home
place
look
that
good.
looks beautiful, and you walk in, you're like, all right.
Okie doke.
Is this the place?
Yeah, exactly. Well, so, and this leads me into, I'm going to hit a couple more high points. There's actually 22 points on this list. And if anybody's interested, let us know. Email the show, and then we can get this information back to you. But 22 things that Zillow said that first-time homebuyers make a mistake on. A couple last ones that were really near and dear to me. Not considering new construction. Oof. Look, consider it at least. I'm not saying you're going to do it.
I actually, for a first-time homebuyer, I do not understand that.
Yeah, well, I mean, you should consider all options, and it's like they're Xing it out. Why? So at Carolina Bays Real Estate and Construction, we pride ourselves on that. So that was a big one. Writing off homes that have lingered on the market too long. This is a sweet spot, Frank. This is a sweet spot. What happens for first-time home buyers, you need to understand, when a home is first put on the market, it has its maximum attention. It's getting the most, right? 100%. And so sometimes that home that's been on there for 80 days, 90 days, it's not getting much attention. Well, guess what? What do you have when you have a seller who has had a product on the market for longer than they expected? Leverage. A potential bargain coming, right?
You have leverage.
Yeah. So, and there may be the thing that this article said is it said sometimes it's not on the market because it's a bad home. They might have had an agreement on the home that fell through. Now they're 90 days in.
Very, very common.
Okay.
Going back to your point where people are maybe biting off more than they can chew financially, you get right down to the nuts and bolts of it, and you're like, whoa. And they back out, and they're going to lose a little bit of money, little earnest money, but that's better. For them, it's safer than going into a deal they can't afford.
Absolutely.
So I respect the people backing out. It's unfortunate for the seller, but like you said, that puts a house 70 days in. Is there something wrong with the home?
No, nothing wrong with the home. And sometimes it's
it was under contract after 40 days, 30 days or whatever.
Okay, last one, and there's 22 of them. We only covered a couple, but this last one I thought was particularly good. Oh, well, actually, I'm going to give you two more. It said waiving home inspections is a mistake that a lot of people do.
Never do that.
Don't do that. Even when we have people who say, I don't care about a home inspection, get one. Just do it. You don't want to move into this house. My sister bought a house not too long ago in Georgia, and she didn't get a home inspection. She calls me up 6 months later and says, Rob, I think I made a mistake. We got a leak coming in now. Nobody's going to fix it for us. And I said, did you get a home inspection? No, we waived that. Why did you waive it, right? I love my sister. Bad move, sis.
That's a shocker.
Yep. And then the last one, ignoring potential hidden cost. And this is one that your realtor can also help you with. By hidden costs, we're not talking about closing costs. Those aren't really hidden. But we're talking about little things like HOA fees that could be going up, special assessments that could come into play.
Assessments are huge with condos and bigger developments. Absolutely. Also, you have those things where typically, I had a deal last year where the seller was asking the buyer to pay for that fee that the HOA gets. I can't remember what they call it, but when you join the HOA, you have to put a chunk of money in.
Some of them,
not all, but some want an upfront payment. And it was significant. It was $1,100, I think.
And sometimes you don't even know what it is. It kind of sneaks its way in on the closing statement, and you're going, wait a minute, what is this $500 fee that you got to do? And here's just for the edification of this and knowledge base. The reason why some communities do that is a lot of developers will front pay fees at the beginning. For example, if there's a giant community mail center, the developer might come in and say, well, I'm going to pay the $20,000 for this. And as each person buys in, they're going to pay their chunk of that to recapture that. So that's what keeps some of the initial pricing down. Well, Frank, good stuff, right? Did you learn something? We didn't really learn anything, but hopefully the viewers did. So anyway, all right, let's take a quick break and we'll come right back. Welcome back to the show. We're going to get into our questions for this week. We got time for two questions. What do you think, Frank? Lay one on me, man. I'm ready to answer some stuff.
I've recently had somebody looking at new construction. They were looking between two neighborhoods. One offered a hardy plank. The other one offered a vinyl siding. What would you say? I know the difference, but what is the best way to explain your different sidings? What are the advantages of?
Do you want all sidings or just between vinyl siding and hardy? Okay. So first thing that I talk to everybody about is the difference between form and function, and then price. So we got three considerations: form, function, and price. Price is the thing that if you can't afford it, it doesn't matter anyway. So what's the form? What's the function? Form is how well it holds up. Function is how well it holds up. Form is how good it looks. Okay. So once we get over those, we can start breaking into what the question is. So vinyl siding, the cheapest of the bunch for sure, okay, least expensive. Now there are some expensive sidings that have foam backing and things like that on them, but vinyl siding is typically the most cost effective. Fairly low maintenance. You're gonna have to pressure wash it once in a while, but unlike hardy plank, you don't have to repaint it every so often. So a good starter home value type of proposition. In modern times, some colorful versions of vinyl have come out there, blues and things that might step out a little bit.
Do they have a fade resistance too if you pay a little more?
The better ones do, yes, absolutely. And that's why I say vinyl siding isn't necessarily cheap.
Nope.
But more likely cheap than some of your other
alternatives. It's a lower
alternatives.
entry level.
But look, they got some stuff like there's nice beaded vinyl siding options where it looks almost like hardy plank.
It's nice looking. Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
Next up, you have the hardy plank. Hardy plank is really a brand name, James Hardy. It's more typically called cementitious siding. It's made of a cement basis.
That's what I have on my house.
And it's very, very strong and durable. So the form is good. The function is also good. The only downside of hardy plank is you're going to have to paint it. And people ask me how often. Well, if you got a lot of shade, it might not be for 15, 16 years. But if you got a lot of sunlight, it'll start fading that out. And so maybe 10 to 12 years down the road, you're going to be repainting it. And by the way, painting is one of the most expensive parts of a hardy plank. Go to the store, compare a piece of hardy plank and a piece of vinyl, and they're similar. But when you get up to it, the hardy will burn through your blades, so the installers charge more. There's some caulking, painting, it adds up. Two more popular exteriors that you'll see: stucco and brick. Brick is very nice. It's a little more expensive than hardy. Notice I said a little more. People think hardy's saving them tons of money. It's really not.
Not really.
But will last for the long run. Some insurance companies will give you a discount for doing brick because of the structural nature of it, and a lot of different options there. And then finally you get into the stucco. Stucco is actually, in our neck of the woods here in the southeast, it's actually more expensive than brick, believe it or not. Heavy application status. There's different kinds of stucco to consider. EIFS, cement board backing, we call that hard coat. But anyway, long story short, price range goes in the order I just gave you. And I don't really think one is better than the other. I think it's more about those.
Any insulation factor on those?
Well, yeah, I mean,
you would think there would be.
Brick has a little bit. Stucco, a lot of times if stucco is on EIFS, which is a foam has an insulation barrier. Like I said, the hardy plank is a little thicker than vinyl, so that'll do well. And then you have some vinyls with the foam backing. So honestly, they can all have their advantage. That would not be my go-to, but I would look at the structural aspect of it, the longevity aspect of it. And of course, we didn't even talk about wood siding, but in the southern regions, we don't really recommend that too much. So
stucco, from brick to stucco, is there a advantage or just it's a look at that point?
Well, honestly, years ago, there was a problem where a lot of houses were having rotting issues with the stucco. And what was happening is the stucco wasn't being applied properly on EIFS primarily, and the water would get behind the wall and it would get trapped and was rotting out some of the wood.
I've seen it.
And so therefore it actually got a stigma about it. And so now people are like, I don't want stucco, even though it's more expensive. But I honestly feel like when it comes to stucco, man, it's tough to beat that look though.
It's clean.
It's a beautiful look, man.
I like it.
Me too, man. And Mediterranean houses have to have it. I was driving through a community the other day and a guy had a brick home, but you could tell it was a Mediterranean home that was supposed to be stuccoed, and he did it with brick, and he did a tan brick, and he was trying to do white coins, and I looked at it and said, man, you're not fooling anybody. You're not fooling anybody. But anyway, so stucco is a good product.
Yeah, Mediterranean brick home.
Mediterranean brick home, and I get it. He liked the style of the Mediterranean. He liked the look. He didn't want stucco, and something to consider when you're thinking about buying a home.
For sure.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, in that price range for sure.
Very cool, very cool. Okay. Frank, okay, my question for you this week was, when you get into buying, we always talk about certain things that will qualify you for a home. Typically, they are called PITI, and it's the principal, it's the interest, it's the taxes, and what's the last one? Insurance, I guess. But you have certain things that you know are going to go into your monthly payment, and those are all relevant. In modern times, as energy costs have increased, some people will look at that as part of the buying ability. How often is this coming up to you as a realtor, energy efficiency of a home and the affordability of it for your clients?
Energy efficiency comes up quite often. A lot of times, if it's a first-time home buyer, it gets into a little bit of a sticky situation because there's a cost factor to it too. You know, a modern home, I would say it's about 45%.
Oh, okay. So about half of your people are actually interested in it.
Yeah.
You know, here's the interesting thing. There's parts of the country that are paying very, very large dollars for their electric. Actually, in our area, you may not hear it as much, but you're coming from the Northeast, you're coming from California.
High.
Very high, right? So what happens is, here's a little thought experiment for anybody who's buying a home. Okay, there's two homes. This one with its property, principal, taxes, insurance, all those things, it's $2,000 a month. This other house, it's $2,000 a month. So you're looking at them and you're going, well, I could afford either one of these. Oh, but wait a minute, this guy has solar panels and foam insulation and this
House was built in 2018 with better, we talked about
better windows,
insulation, better windows,
low E, all that.
Everything.
The other house doesn't have that. So his energy bill, the guy with all the energy efficiency, his energy bill is $100 a month. This other guy's $500 a month. Do you think that plays a role? Yeah. So I feel like that as people are looking at the homes, that should be a big part of what they're doing, especially the first-time home buyers, because they're a little less savvy to that.
One of the reasons why I think my percentage may be a little higher than you expected is because I'm dealing with a lot of people that are relocating here where the energy costs are high.
Yeah.
Like I have somebody I'm working with right now coming from California but had lived in the Northeast prior, and they really want a house with a fireplace in it, which is available, but it's not as common here.
It's not as
to
common.
sit by a burning fire because our winters are fairly mild.
You know what's interesting? There's all these misconceptions.
But I get it.
There's misconceptions of what people think they need here. And kind of just piggybacking a little bit off of that energy efficiency question, but people think, oh, I need a fireplace. And down here, you're just not using it that often.
Yeah.
And people think, well, I need the giant tub. People are thinking like all these things.
The soaker tub?
Yeah, and on the remodel side, and of course, we do remodeling, real estate, and home building.
Nobody's requesting you put that in now.
Can you take out my huge shower and put a giant tub in?
Nobody's asked you that.
A tiny shower.
Nobody's asked you that.
That's the opposite of what we're hearing out there.
Yeah.
So, there's little things, but I think in 2024, we have to look at the energy efficiency.
Absolutely.
Because, there are older homes out there that are just energy drains.
I have a little rule of thumb. When somebody is presenting me an older home that they want to look at, I immediately go in and check the background of the home. And we could check to see when the roof was replaced, when the HVAC was. Those are huge.
Okay.
I just put a house under contract. It closes tomorrow, which will be next week when the show airs.
Nice.
But it was built in the 70s.
Okay.
So you have what? You probably have an older roof. You have an older HVAC. You have all those things have been replaced.
Yeah.
Windows are the next thing. That's the only thing missing in this house. Everything else, energy-wise, has been done.
Not too shabby.
It's not a bad home now.
It makes a huge difference. And look, that may be our pro tip for the day. To be honest with you, if you're looking at homes and especially for first-time buyers, but I think even people from outside the area, I would check for a couple of things. I'd check for the energy bill. I'd like to see what they're spending on their energy bills. It may surprise you.
When was their HVAC/water heater/ roof replaced?
Well, yeah, those are good to know because that means it could get better.
Those are large expenses.
So if it's already big, it could get better, and knowing that, so go in. That's a relevant part. What are the HOA dues? I mean, that should be coming up, I think, with everybody. But how much are the HOAs? Especially, that's one of the things that happened in the condo market in the last year, right? So anyway, interesting things to look at. And again, just looking at ideas. One last fun fact, since this person asked the energy question. So solar, in the solar industry, quick note on it. People come from up north and they're saying, I need to get solar panels.
Yeah.
I want to try and knock off my energy bill. And so this is just a natural thing. I want to look into this. I've heard about all these tax credits. And they get down to this area and they find out they're only paying $150 for the energy.
True story. I bought my house in 2022. Right away, I'm in for maybe 2 months. My wife and I get a call from a guy wanting to pitch us solar.
Okay.
We gave him our energy bill we had so far.
Yep.
We gave him what our rates were. Never heard back from him.
Oh, okay.
There's no savings.
It's hard to pitch it, man.
Not that you can't do it, and people haven't. People have done it here. You've seen it.
Yeah. I mean, look, there's something to be said for saving the forest. Most people are trying to save their energy bill. So anyway, all right, well, Frank, I think we're out of time for this week. To the viewers of the show, we appreciate you guys listening in. Make sure to check us out on social media. Ask us any questions. We love to answer these for our pro tips.
Yeah.
And check us out at the Meatball Beach Ball Challenge. That's coming up this Saturday over in Surfside. That is for the Champion Autism Network.
Awesome.
We're trying to raise some money for that and have some good meatballs in the process.
For sure.
And did I miss anything, Frank?
Nope.
All right. Well, hey, we'll see you all next time on the Modern Homes Podcast with Rob and Frank.